Welcome to another edition of One Speed MMA podcast with Flying Smitty and
Karson, or capital W
what do you
underscore
want? What would you
24.
like to go by while we're talking about this and discussing? What would you actually like to go by? Karson, One Speed Wood.
I would like to
capital
go by
W.
Karson.
That's no fun.
I don't care what it is. I mean, you can
no-
call me what I don't care what. I'll respond to any of it. But if you're asking what I want to, just my name is fine.
No, it's not.
Again, you can call me whatever you want. I don't give a damn.
Just not late for dinner.
You just can't call me late for dinner.
Uncle jokes. So first, I think we should start with an apology.
Yeah, we're dumb. So
You are dumb. You are so dumb.
we had a text conversation about when the Bellator fights were after our podcast last week, just yesterday, actually, wasn't it? And we came to the conclusion that we're dumb.
Yeah. So on the last podcast, if you listened, and thank you for those that did, make sure to subscribe always. We talked about the Bellator card as if it was coming up, the Royce Gracie versus Frank Shamrock versus...
It is coming up, just
week.
not yesterday or Friday.
There was a Shuto Brazil 61 was yesterday, which we missed. We have to get Fight Pass.
We're going to do that, though, because it's becoming, because they talk about all the regional promotions, there's always something to watch on it. I was opposed to it initially because I thought that's a way that they were just going to push shitty fights to us. You know, and I guess it is kind of, but this is more interesting to me to see like up and comers, whereas before it was just like, oh, we get to see
King of the Cage.
Yeah, well, no, I wasn't even thinking that. I was thinking like a crappy UFC card, like you get to see Gabriel Gonzaga versus
Brendan Schwab.
Yeah, like something like that, like headlining, like. But no, they're doing like different regional BJJ tournaments,
Eddie
Bravos, and I mean I'm excited about it.
Very surprising that UFC London, Anderson Silva versus Michael Bisping is on Fight Pass.
It is and it isn't.
I understand it from a marketing standpoint because I would get Fight Pass, the free weeks, edition of it, to get to watch that fight. I think there's one or two other fights that I'm actually interested in on that card, which we will actually get into.
Well, they're trying to open it up. They're trying to, because I think they're probably doing pretty good in the U.S., but they put two foreigners, like you get Brazil and then you get a UK fighter. And then you put it on that. So the only way that they have to watch it, they might still be showing it in Brazil live because they always put it on the basic television package in Brazil, right? The UFC fights are pretty much always on. Do they?
Yeah.
So maybe not there, but I mean, I think they're trying to sell those elsewhere.
It's free in Europe. It's free in Asian countries. When I was in Korea, it was free. And so I wouldn't see why it wouldn't be. Gerard Misasi versus Talis Latis is also on the card.
I like that.
Francisco Rivera versus Brad Pickett is also on the card.
Okay.
And those are the only ones. Interestingly enough, Tom Breeze versus Kira Nakamura is on the card. And I've heard of Tom Breeze. He's undefeated out of England or the UK. I'm not sure exactly which part of the UK. I've recently discovered the difference between British and the UK. Thanks to my
I saw that. Niall Fleming, if you follow him on Twitter, he's always up for a conversation about MMA. Had to school Justin that Ireland is not part of the UK.
Northern Ireland is not part of the UK. However, Dublin would be part of the UK. Belfast would not. And he's in Cork, so who knows where that is. Yeah. He can get corked for all we care. But actually, we like him a lot. He's a good dude.
Yeah, and one thing that we like to do, and we're actually always trying to do, is having conversation. It kind of gets confusing because we both run it, and it's like I'll post something and notice that Justin had already done it and had something better to say. But
I never have anything better to say.
Yeah, it's not true.
I just nana boo boo, stick your head in doo doo. That's my normal response.
Yeah, you can't put too much more than that because 140 characters. But
hashtag one word.
We are Zcasting right now. We'd love you guys to come. Zcast is a live app where you can come interact with us during the cast, and we love to give shout-outs on that. If not, please just interact with us on Twitter. I mean, we love the follows and everything, but more than anything, we like active following and just having conversations. It helps us get different content and find out what you guys are interested to. And we appreciate everybody giving us feedback for the last week. They said that they liked it. We appreciate that. What we would also like is maybe just some negative criticism or positive, constructive. Let us know what you want to hear more of, what you think would help us do better. It doesn't necessarily mean we'll do it because, I mean, we're trying to do certain things, but...
We're looking at you, Danny Moore.
Yeah. We want to...
Listening on YouTube.
We want to make it more listenable for y'all, but...
Let's get back into some M&A.
Let's do it.
MMA. MMA, mixed martial matters arts. It happens. This weekend, once again, Cowboy versus Cowboy. Let's get into a little bit. Obviously, most people listening to this are probably pretty diehard, but let's get into how it all went down. Donald Cerrone was supposed to fight Tim Means originally. You go into that a little bit.
So Tim Means gets busted for, I don't even know.
Osterin? Which is found in PMS pills, apparently.
That's what I asked Paul during our cast yesterday because he was saying that Mejia was banned. And at this point, I'm like, what did he get hit with? There's so many things, like if you look at those, that they can get hit with them. I don't, and this kind of goes into the Yoel Romero thing that we can talk about later too. I can see their side of it. I think that they know a little bit more than we do, though, than they give on. But when they're saying, like, they got busted for this, I'm like, if I saw that on a label and somebody let me know, I would have no idea. You'd have to have a nutritionist.
Yeah, well, here's the deal. So I've been actually looking into this quite a bit. Actually, a lot this week. So apparently they actually have... So I used to work at a GNC, and when you read things, when you're at a GNC, a nutritionist is going to know everything that's on the back of a bottle. However, from what I understand, is it's just like something that says made in a factory that produces things made with nuts. And people with nuts allergies have to be careful with certain ones of those because certain aspects of those will actually have more amount of nuts in them than other ones. So you're getting into these nutritional supplement places, and what ends up happening is a lot of these actually have things in them that aren't on the bottle. Mm-hmm. And they actually...
proprietary blend?
No.
Not even that?
Not even that. So in the case of Yoel Romero specifically, what they're actually getting into is they have the thing that they tagged him for showed up in his stuff in his system. We're getting some feedback there, Car. Sorry. Showed up in his system. It was not on the thing that he was taking, on the supplement that he was taking. And then what ended up actually happening was the USADA went in and did their own testing, and during their own testing, they found second batches of the same supplement that pinged hot for what he had tested for that were not actually in there. So Yoel Romero had his own team test it, and then they actually had somebody else test it. And both times they actually showed that they had that stuff in there. And so what it tells us is that, are we not broadcasting on Zcast?
I can't stay in. Go. It's fine. Go ahead.
Well, you don't need to stay in.
It's fine. I wanted to be able to type stuff, but it's fine. Go. I liked what you were saying because I have not actually looked into this a lot other than seeing just you putting on the tweets and stuff like that of what he was saying, which I respected what he was saying. He didn't seem to like sling any mud or anything like that. He actually kind of seems like he stays away from it for the most part. He did like your quote that you put about
him. And retweeted it. Mm-hmm. So we've been liked and retweeted by Michael Bisping, Dominic Cruz, Yoel Romero, Dylan Tuke, lots of different people. Obviously, that kid's young. Anyway, long story short, basically, USADA and these independent companies for the fighters are testing these supplements and finding things in these supplements that aren't actually on the label. So it's this big thing, and now it's the discussion of, do you still suspend them for a little bit of time? Do you... what kind of transparency is needed? Obviously, as insiders, MMA insiders, as Ariel Helwani and them call themselves, that they wanted as much information as possible. But now Yoel Romero might get off of this.
From what I understand from listening to Chael Sonnen when he got busted,
he admitted to it.
But he explained. I know he did, but he explained the process. And so he says, I think because he got busted more than once, right? And it was the first one that he talked about how he did put it on. Like, you have to go into the commission and write everything that, especially if you're doing testosterone replacement therapy, you have to put it on the list. And I think that they already have the measures in place. Just put the supplements that you're doing on it, and then at that point they can test it. And if you're out of competition and you're testing hot for it, they can say you can't take this anymore. Maybe they can't do that. Maybe they can. I don't know.
But
it seems like
Romero tested right after competition.
No, I know. I'm saying they have the measures in place now, so that they could stop this beforehand. So beforehand.
So if you got cocaine in your system,
you fill in the supplements that you're taking. You send it into the commission. The commission can do their job and test it. And then if you're hot for something, if they're like, no, we tested everything. This one that you're taking has any number of chemicals. I could not keep up with everything that you can get banned for. It has this. You got to stop taking this. And I think that way you're not banning them. They're out of competition at the time. They can cycle off of it and find another supplement.
As long as it's not TRT or HGH or any of those things.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you're not going to put that on
high amounts of caffeine.
You're not going to put that on it anyways, right? You're not going to be like, I'm taking HGH.
But you just said that Chelsonen had listed everything that he was on.
Yeah, but this was before when it was legal. That's why he was saying
sense.
He's like, I put it on that I was doing it, and I just came in higher than I should have. And that's the whole one where he's like, I was only 8. Test me again. You must have got me on a low day. That's my understanding of it. All I'm saying is I think they have the methods in place to make this. They might have to do more work. I don't know exactly what kind of labs they have and things like that available to them.
And that's the interesting part. So the big deal about this is Yoel Romero probably didn't do anything wrong. Tim Means doesn't look like he's using any banned substances, but the banned substance he was pinged for was not a bulking agent. So it's not like he was using steroids, which is, I mean, they have banned substances for a reason.
Well, a lot of the banned substances, too, are more to clean your system, right? Like they can hide the steroids. So it's not going to be, it's not indicative of that you're using that to get bigger or anything like that, but that it could be you're using it to clean your system. Yeah.
You're using it as a masking agent. So Yoel Romero probably would have received a title shot against Luke Rockhold, and that's the other big issue. Now it's Weidman Rockhold 2, which a lot of people say they couldn't care less about, instead of Yoel Romero versus
I
Rockhold.
care about that. Do you not care about that?
I don't care about that.
Yeah, man. I think he did pretty good for like the first couple of rounds. Like as far, I mean, he lost still, but it was the spinning back heel, which is not his game. I don't know why he was doing that. That got him like taken down when the fight really started turning. I'm down to see a round 2. I mean, he gave Anderson Silva an immediate rematch and didn't complain once about it.
They're technically claiming that he was fighting with a broken foot. His coach.
Oh yeah, I'm done with that. Like
with any excuses.
Yeah, I'm done. Like you got the fight, you did lose. Are you gonna say that you shouldn't have lost the fight? No, you're not gonna say that. So then don't even bring it up. Like, and you already got the fight. You don't need to be saying, well, we had a broken foot. You're not trying to sell the card again. You got it. Just stop.
Mm-hmm. No, and that's very much the thing. I think with the Sage Northcutts, it's interesting because the MMA community got so sick of the Tito Ortizes and the Rampage Jacksons and all of those older generation that were like, my back, it's broken. What about your back? Spinal. Okay, Mike Tyson. And Tito Ortiz did that. Rampage Jackson would always come up with something. And I think MMA fans, if you go in with a broken foot and you lose, you don't say anything about it. You just go on with life, and you just.
I know people don't like it, but you pretty much do what Manny Pacquiao did. You got to fight.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do fight, you don't say anything about it. That's what you don't do what Manny Pacquiao did, because then you get people that sue you.
Yeah.
And inordinate amounts of money because
you shouldn't have been fighting.
No, he should have been. It's like, I mean, if he thinks that he could have and he wanted to get paid, he should have. But at the same time, I don't think he has to disclose that to people. That's dumb. That whole thing's dumb. But yeah, I mean, as far as I'm fine with Chris Weidman fighting him again, I don't want to hear about the broken foot.
Well, Luke Rockhold won. If he would have lost, he would have been like, I had staph and I was on all kinds of antibiotics and I shouldn't have been fighting to begin with, but I'm a company man, so I did it. It seems like every fighter has a reason why they lost, other than the fact that the other fighter was just better.
Not everybody. I mean, again, not to keep bringing up Chael, but this is what I liked about his John Jones fight. Because you remember right after that, they asked him.
He talked himself into it.
Well, no, they asked him. They were like, "You almost won that fight. What would you have done if you would have won the light heavyweight?" And he just looked at him like, "Come on. Anybody that watched that fight, did it look like I was winning?"
But he
He's
knew
like,
what he was done.
But still. Like, you think about the Anderson Silva fight. Immediately after fights, he doesn't make excuses. And then he puts on the act again a week later.
Because I think he knew he was actually, legitimately done with fighting.
But think about him after the Anderson Silva fights, too. When they,
the second one, he was a lot different.
Now, the first one he was, too, until a week later when he wanted a rematch again.
And was calling on the phone.
He's always humble right after. But then, he puts on the act again.
I think one of my favorite interviews that I just have listened to was actually Chael Sonnen versus Ken Shamrock. Did you hear that one?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Where they talk about it's a show, it's an act, to a point. Like, you have to sell yourself. You have to sell fights. If you want to make money in MMA and you want it to be a career, you have to sell yourself. You can't just be. And he said they don't care who you've beat. They don't care if you won Jungle Fights or Shuto or Metamorphosis or whatever it is.
Metamorphosis.
Metamorphosis, is that what it is?
Yeah.
I've always thought it was Metamorphosis.
Yeah, it's Metamorphosis. It's okay.
Thank you for correcting me, because I would have looked like a fool.
No, you're good.
Anyway, so they basically are like, no one cares who you've beat. They care what you're doing now, who you're going to be, and they want you to be seen. So like Rafael dos Anjos being like, I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing this because I love fighting. He's taking the exact same pay against Conor McGregor as he did against Donald Cerrone, which to me is incredibly silly, because you see how much money could be made. And maybe it's like movie stars that are like, I'm not going to do any interview. Like Edward Norton during the Hulk. He's like, I'm not going to do any interviews. I'm not going to push this. You guys took all my lines. I'm not going to do it. Maybe Nick Diaz. Certain people just don't like being in the limelight. But if you want money, you have to show it. You have to talk, and you have to put yourself out there.
Maybe. And I understand what they're saying, and I appreciate it. But it can also, global star, but maybe he just wants to be a star in Brazil, and it's a different culture. It's different marketing for it. It's because they're so nationalistic, like they're just going to follow their guy regardless. So,
I look at Bisping. all of the UK, all of the London is behind him just because that's where he's from.
But yeah, and he's a talker. I
love Bisping.
I don't.
Love him.
But think about it, like he talks a lot, and he's not like a global star like Conor McGregor is.
Bisping's a big name.
He is, but he's not a global star like Conor McGregor, and he talks just as much. I actually think he's a smoother talker than Conor McGregor.
Oh, very much.
Conor, the difference is he's got either the Babe Ruth pointing or the Muhammad Ali, I'm going to knock him out in the round, and then he does it. So he has that X factor where he calls it and then does it, right? But
because Conor McGregor, I believe there's more emulation, and Michael Bisping is himself.
Do you see what they did with the Fight Pass thing with Bisping? So they got him on a bunch of fans that had Fight Pass, and I think it was John Anik. And they're like, "Who do you got this week? Bisping versus Anderson Silva." "Oh man, I got Silva." And then they would ask these people, and then Bisping would push Anik or whoever it was aside and be like, "Oh, how'd you?" And just started calling him out on Fight Pass.
I like Bisping, but I like Dan Hardy. Paul Daly, other than the punch thrown after the bell, I really like. I have something for British fighters, probably because they can't wrestle. So if you know, there's one of two chances of their loss. They're going to get knocked out, or they're going to get taken down and wrestled for.
Man, I'm so surprised with all the neutralizing ground game that's been going on. The Rumble, which he did finish it on the ground, but he stopped on the sprawl.
Thompson. McGregor got up against Mendez.
I don't believe in that.
Scroggins versus Borg, he also got up.
I don't believe in that fight.
He got up, man.
2 weeks.
Yeah, no, but Mendez, big credit for Mendez for actually taking that fight. We don't need to get into that, I don't think. I think we disagree on that fight, but it's all right. We'll agree to disagree.
Well, the sad thing is we're not going to ever see it again. I don't think.
I bet you Mendez got a gigantic payday for that. He probably got Jose Aldo's pay-per-view money.
He should have. I doubt it. I highly doubt he got that. But
speaking of which, they're in Utah right now.
Who is?
A lot of Alpha Male. They're at the Outdoor Expo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Why is it?
Joe Rogan took a picture with him, so they're all at the Outdoor Expo. We should have gone.
Why?
To go meet him and take
pictures. I
pictures.
don't care about meeting him.
Do a flash interview.
I want to see them.
Moore them. What do you think about politics? I don't. Where did you this come from?
You got knocked out in this fight. Tell me what happened right after that.
Yeah.
You can't? You heard it here, folks. Dodging questions. No, I mean, it would be cool, I guess, but
I'd like to see it again.
they're all running. Chad Mendes is, do you know why he's out here?
Yeah. Fins and feathers.
Yeah, fins and feathers. They're doing the
Celebrity camping trips.
yeah, which
Tim Sylvia is part of that.
he is.
Well, no, but like he said, and you look at you look at the MMA fighters that are the most intelligent, and all of them are trying to build their future. Chad Mendes is like, you can't retire off fighters' money. You can't do it. I mean, you look at Uriah Faber. I mean, he's doing all kinds of stuff to make sure he's okay after fighting. Like
That was
Chael Sonnen, all of those people getting into announcing and ring announcing and doing all of those. I mean, they're the smartest ones.
That's the thing to me. The most important part of talking and becoming a personality isn't so much to make money during fighting; it's to make money outside of fighting.
Oh yeah,
you have to get your voice out there, be relatable to people, and then the money comes after the fact. You can do your welcome. You can do your broadcasting, and excuse me. You can do different business ventures that people are excited to come out and see you, but I wouldn't necessarily say that you have to do it, like in RDA's case, to pump the fight.
Look at Brendan Schwab. He's probably making equitable money doing the fighter and the kid, and then doing the fighter and the kid live shows. It's on Fox.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no.
And then I saw the Conor McGregor
UFC
interview
on Fox. Yep.
I was really surprised by that. So, but he didn't even talk during, like Matt Mitrione talked more than he did.
He didn't. He talked really what it is Joe Rogan.
Yeah, no, he got into a good situation.
And everybody says the one person you want to be on their good side is Joe Rogan, because Joe Rogan is like the greatest guy in the world when he likes you. And that's you see a lot of different people that Joe Rogan likes that he has taken care of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, Brendan Schaub's on there, Callan's on there, Chael Sonnen, I would even say, is on there. Joe Rogan's taken pretty good, when he was first coming up, because Chael Sonnen was a nobody in the WEC, fighting Paulo Filho, and I remember those fights. I loved them. Paulo Filho, poor guy, man, got all kinds of the Jason Mayhem Miller of Brazil.
Is he?
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say that.
He's got a face tattoo.
I was going to say Malachias Falcao is more that strain, man, like in 5-year house arrest and
with Thiago Silva going outside of going outside of the gym and threatening to kill his wife and her boyfriend.
Oh, dude. Oh man, that bugs me so bad. Like all those guys are so good. Did you ever see any of the?
I look at it like football though. You have a lot of head trauma and you have a lot of probably steroids in your system, and steroids and head trauma do not go well together.
You know, it goes great with head trauma, or at least helps it. Proper hydration.
Yeah. It's cutting weight. Mm-hmm. You want to get into that discussion?
I was going to ask one question really quick.
Yes.
Did you ever watch any of the Falcao fights, like him versus Maldonado or anything like that?
I did. Yes. But I don't remember any of them like, oh yeah, I remember exactly this fight. I remember Maldonado better than Falcao.
Because he fought in the UFC. But like their fights in Brazil, they were both.
I never saw any of those.
Oh my gosh, man, they were both going to be so good because Maldonado has some of the best boxing. Like he's just really good at dirty boxing and stuff. And then Falcao is just a beast. Like I'm pretty sure he's on steroids though. He had that look, but like he could take the fight anywhere. I was so bummed when he actually got arrested and couldn't make the jump to the UFC because I wanted to see the third from both of them. Anyways, I just wanted to see if you'd seen that. But
I think one of my favorite conversations that we've had on Twitter so far was me putting, that's why you don't grow weed farms, do cocaine, or hit people with your cars or something like that. Mm-hmm. And like that's how you stay out of trouble. And we got one person that hit us back up and said, "What's wrong with growing weed farms?" And it's like, well, there's absolutely nothing if it's in a legal state to grow weed farms. Well, if you're in Utah like we are and you're growing a weed farm, you're going to jail.
Yep. Oh, in California? No.
Josh Rosen's out of jail, speaking of.
Yeah.
He's got a picture with Big John McCarthy and Herb Dean. You think
he got busted in Colorado, the first state to break into.
No, it was Northern California as far as I remember. Yeah.
I was pretty sure it was in Colorado.
We'll have to look it up.
It doesn't matter. It wasn't legal wherever he was, and it is legal there now. It's so messed up.
That's the big argument. But
Joe Rogan was talking about some place that they actually weigh even if you have just a plant, they'll weigh the whole pot and they'll call it a weed farm because it hits a certain weight with the pot. It's so messed up.
Washington, you can have a certain amount on you, but over a certain amount, it's intent to distribute. And so you can have like less than an ounce. And I mean, it's kind of a solid point. If you have more than a certain amount, then either you smoke a ton of pot or you're looking to distribute.
But in a lot of cases, like, I'd have to look up the exact place. They're weighing the pot in the dirt.
Yeah. No, I got
That's
you.
jacked up.
Yeah.
It's stupid. We don't even smoke weed, by the way.
No.
Just
We did. There's a guy on Twitter that does sell THC oils out of California, and apparently the THC value, there's more cannabinoids. THC levels low enough that it's considered legal anywhere, including here in Utah.
nice.
Yeah, so
Nice.
it's very interesting. But hemp oil, it's got crazy medicinal properties.
So what we wanted to talk about this week in particular, we kind of want to have at least one linchpin topic. Yeah, Justin. And this week we wanted to kind of talk weight cuts. There's been a lot of talk with just people not being able to make weight, and then on top of that, Conor McGregor talking about going all the way up to fight for doom, I think, at this point.
IV regulation through USADA, California's regulation of not allowing weight cuts. I mean, there's just an incredible amount of things that are going on, and it's changing the landscape of MMA big time. You're going to see people. I actually watched. Speaking of weight cuts, I watched the Dan Hardy Anthony Rumble Johnson fight when they were fighting at 155. 170.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's no way Rumble made 155. Jeez, man. Go ahead.
They were fighting at 170, and just absolutely incredible to see Johnson. Johnson was so much bigger than him, but he looking at him now and looking at him then, he looked really, really unhealthy. And like just his fighting style and everything, I think if they would have fought at 205, say Hardy was the same size and weight at 205, I think Anthony Johnson would have crushed him. He did wrestle him the whole time and ground and pound him, and that definitely wasn't Hardy's strong, suit. But it's just really weird to think that someone fighting at 205 and struggling to make 205 was at one point fighting at 170.
Still one of my favorite stories ever, moving up to 180. And weighing in like 16 pounds over. Oh, man.
So let's think about this. Missing weight. Cejudo's missed weight at 135. Anthony Johnson.
Which is weird because he's an Olympic wrestler. Like I feel like he should never miss weight.
He should spit in that cup and run in his sweatsuit. Big Rig, Johnny Hendricks missed weight. There's not a whole lot of other fighters that have been missing weight.
There was another one recently.
And it's
there was the one that they had to pull out of the fight completely because he passed out backstage.
Oh yeah, no, there's a couple of those. There's people that have gone into seizures.
Yeah.
I mean, weight cutting. The people that we knew in high school that were wrestlers that did weight cutting still have issues with weight. They're all usually small. I think a lot of them are bigger. But one of the things that they get into is every time you drop weight, when you put that weight back on, your body tries to protect itself by making it harder for you to drop that kind of weight again. So as you go down and then beef up, or as you go down and then water back up and then go down and water back up, hydrate, your body basically starts to disallow it. So a lot of these older fighters like Johnny Hendricks and those type of guys are like, it gets harder and harder to drop weight every time that you do it. And then USADA and the UFC saying, hey, there's no more IVs for hydration. So just a quick background, what these people would do, or what these fighters would do, they would get all of their water weight out. I mean, you're 75% water. They would get down to 3 to 5% body fat, which is what they're at anyway, if not even lower than that. And then they would drop another 20 pounds of water. And so what that's doing is it's causing issues with your brain because your brain needs water to hydrate. It's causing muscle
specifically for the electrolytes to like fire neurons and stuff like that.
To just function properly. So what was happening is these people would weigh in. They would have their electrolyte water right afterwards. They would go back to their hotel room. They would get IVs like in a hospital, and they would actually get an electrolyte drip inserted into their veins, because if you were to just try and rehydrate only drinking electrolyte water, your body wouldn't be able to take it. You would make yourself sick, and you would even potentially get more sick. So they would have to use IVs in order to rehydrate. So, do you remember what happened with Jose Aldo when they first said that they were going to do this? That they were going to disallow the IVs?
Yeah, he said he was going to do it.
He said he was going to do it anyway because they needed him.
No, he's right, though. It's a stupid thing to ban.
But do you remember why the second reason why they're banning it?
Because they can use it to mask and dope. But, I mean...
Get into that. Do you know how they were doing that?
Not exactly.
So basically,
I've read about it, but I don't remember it all to explain it.
So the IVs that are used for hydration also ping the same for IVs that are used with masking agents. So when you take somebody's blood, you can actually find the little particulates that are from the IV filtration system, or like the actual liquid inside the IV. So the other people that showed up for those were the people that were actually using some kind of blood doping or any other thing that had to be done intravenous. They couldn't figure out the difference between which one of those people was IVing and which one of those people was using illegal substances to blood dope or whatever else that they might be using IVs for. So that's another reason why they were just trying to get rid of it.
Do you really think, though, that people that close, apart from the people that are just too stupid, do you think there were really that many people that were masking and blood doping that close to a fight?
I don't. But I think I like it because I think the UFC in the long run is protecting their fighters. I
don't, though. Like there's been actually tons of studies that the dehydration is infinitely worse with concussions. Infinitely.
Yeah. So you don't dehydrate.
No, yeah. But I mean, they're going to do that regardless. I think there's more just logistical things that you can do. We talked about it a little bit to make it so, one, they're not going to hydrate using IVs anyways. Just move the weight, just weigh in the day of.
Yeah.
I mean, that I just don't see any reason why you just don't wait. Like, you could even do it on the way to the ring, what you run the risk of, and I get it. But you're not going to, even if they miss weight the day before, I guess there's some logistical problems. Like if it was like right before the fight, like, cause I was thinking of like almost people just walking in, stepping on a scale, then walking into the ring like immediately. They're not going to do that because if you miss weight, like there's certain things you have to do. Like, are you okay with taking 20% of this person's purse that's overweight and still fighting them? No, yes. Okay. But I mean, there's other things that you can do. Like you could do everybody at midday. You could have everybody weigh in. And the only problem, and we've talked about this as well, the UFC loves the spectacle of it. Mm-hmm. You don't get that at the weigh-ins, but you could still have a square off.
You could still have a square off, and you still do Q&As. But this is a discussion that we had via text, where I think if I'm going to pay $500 a ticket or $150 a ticket, and then I'm going to pay for plane flights or gas to drive 2 hours away to go see a UFC event, or if I'm coming in from Ireland to watch Conor McGregor in Vegas, I'm going to hit up the Q&A. I'm going to hit up the weigh-ins. I'm going to hit up the open workouts.
You could still go hit up the weigh-ins, though, if it's in midday.
I think it's such a long process. I mean, it's like a 2-hour process. And
if we're talking about people's health over you spent a couple thousand, you want to hit every event, that you still can hit everything. But like these people.
But psychological, think about getting to the weigh-in and then psyching yourself out for a fight. Like, I think I agree with you. There needs to be something that's done. And weighing in on the same day is perfectly fine. I don't think it's going to happen due to the amount of money that they can make by broadcasting those weigh-ins.
They don't broadcast them, though. They put them on YouTube for free. The only time that they've ever made money off of it.
But there's ads before them, right?
I don't remember.
Yeah, and if you're getting 1 million views of those weigh-ins with those ads,
they don't.
You're getting 50,000.
No. They're not getting that much for those. Like, there's not that many people that watch those.
Ronda Rousey, you don't think there's 1 million when she yelled at Holly Holm? You don't think there's 1 million views of DC versus Jones or McGregor versus Jose Aldo?
We can look.
I bet you there was at least 1 million views.
We can look right now.
All right, so you looked that up. I think, so you put the ad revenue on the front of that, plus all of the merchandise that's purchased at those events, that those people go in and buy that merchandise before the fights the next day. I think when it comes down to it, the UFC is a PR and marketing company for themselves, not necessarily for the fighters.
For John Jones, Daniel Cormier, and this isn't even the full one. This is just their segment that they cut up. Has 500,000.
Okay, so 500,000. So if you figure you're making 10 cents to $1 per, you just made, well, probably more than 10 cents, 25 cents per. You're still making over several $1,000s.
You could still do it day of. And still push it.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think it's also
And then like they don't get if they say they have an issue during the weigh-in, they don't have a night to sleep on it. They're just going to get heated for the next few hours.
I think one of the other issues as well is it's a marketing. The UFC. If 50,000 people see that, say 25,000 of those people before the fights, and someone was on the fence about ordering those fights, and then someone at a weigh-in gets super crazy, you use that for PR and you sell it the next day. So we're arguing two different things. I'm arguing PR and marketing. You're arguing fighter health.
Well, PR and marketing, it's pretty much a moot point, I think, because, I mean, day of, like that stuff flies around on Twitter. Like, oh my gosh, Jones and Cormier just started rolling, and that flies around.
But the more time that you have, the better off you are.
Not necessarily.
To a point, well, 2 days.
It's like the Metamoris. They do it like with as little time as possible.
They
that
also
way,
don't pay anybody.
Maybe it wasn't Metamoris. It was the one who's getting ready to roll with Chael. I can't remember. Anyways,
Michael Bisping, your fights.
I don't remember, but it's different marketing. Like one, they're hyping it up forever. Anyways,
Theirs is a spectacle though, not an actual event.
Who's this?
Your fights, the one where Bisping and Chael Sonnen are rolling together.
I can't remember who it was because I don't think it was actually Bisping, but that's fine. Oh no, it wasn't. It was Barnett.
Oh, you're talking old, yeah, the older one, the one that was months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I'm talking about the one that's coming up.
I meant because I was listening to an old interview, and it was like they do it with as little time as possible, so that everybody gets really excited for it, and they don't get burned out on it. So I mean, one, you can be hyping it in different ways throughout the whole lead up to it. Like we've almost had no lead up to the RDA and McGregor thing
Because you don't need it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what more do you need? Like an extra couple hours where you could just film it midday.
But let's talk Frankie Edgar, Chad Mendes. Let's talk.
What about it?
Let's talk Chris Weidman, Luke Rockhold. Those type of fights that don't have a main named fighter that people are going to pay a ton of money to see. No one's going to fly in from the UK to watch Luke Rockhold versus...
I've never heard anybody say, did you see the weigh-in? I got to watch that. Never.
I have.
When?
Well, this is also our friends who are into MMA.
Who?
Todd
When?
Hare. Todd sends me stuff all the time, and he says, like, when John Jones pushed Daniel Cormier and they fell through the
That wasn't
thing,
weigh-ins.
It wasn't weigh-ins, but I still was
What was
sent
that? It was a lead up to it.
Ronda Rousey, Holly Holm.
Mm-hmm.
I also was sent that by Todd.
When were you sent that?
And you asked me if I saw it
When were you sent that?
the day of.
What time?
I don't.
Right after it happened, right?
Yeah.
So you could still do that day of.
Yeah.
If it's gonna get caught on social media, and you know this better than anybody,
social media-
it's gonna fly.
And that's, I 100% agree with you because everyone wants to be the first to share something or talk about something or do something. And I agree with you 100% on that.
So that's just what I'm saying from a marketing standpoint.
But there was a joke on Twitter about Kanye West and Amber Rose.
Yes.
You know, the whole finger
Finger
off
in the
butt
booty ass
thing?
bitch.
Yes. So they were talking about that. And that everyone on Twitter was like, people on Facebook are going to LOL 3 days from now when they finally see this. So I mean,
Yes.
social media makes fun of other social media because
absolutely.
because Twitter's breaking news. Facebook is when it finally trends, later on. So it is what it is. And so, yeah, you're right. Everyone wants to be the first. Even on the UFC group we're in on Facebook, it's like if there's breaking news, within seconds it's on the Reddit. Everybody wants to be the first. You post something 10 minutes later, you get some troll that's like, hey, asshat, this is posted 10 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
You can't find it anywhere. But me, the guy that's on Reddit all day, every day, is telling you your business because that's my...
Please clap.
That's my Reddit. Yeah. Please clap. That's his Reddit job, is to troll other people and tell them that they already posted something that someone else had already posted. Like, social media, man.
It's great. That's just what I'm saying. Like, marketing, it seems negligible for like a 24-hour period. If you do other things, I don't think really the bulk of your buys aren't going to come from weigh-ins or even a significant portion of it that you couldn't generate day of and that you can't generate with other events on Saturday, in my opinion.
I agree. And when it really comes down to it, I agree that weight cutting should be changed. I'm fine with the same day. weight cut. It does change some things when you're traveling and different things like that. If you're in Australia and you've been there for 3 days and sleep and different things like that. But I agree. I agree that you could get up really early, not early in the morning, but early enough in the morning to weigh in.
Yeah, and I mean, it's more, the reason why you do that more is because why would you need to wake up early to cut more weight? That's what we're trying to get away from, right? Mm-hmm. Like you should, I'm not saying don't cut weight.
No, but
I'm just saying
prepare yourself mentally to get to the weigh-in.
It's an absurd amount of weight that they're cutting. Like if Conor can fight 170, if he can fight 155, then he shouldn't be fighting 145. The 155, it's fine. People move up and down in between a weight class, but all the way up to 170. And that picture that you sent me next to GSP, he looks the same size.
Yep.
GSP has more bulk, has more weight. That's not to say Conor couldn't put it on, but then Conor cannot fight 155 with that weight in the same amount. If he can't defend both belts, if he's really, that's his option, he can't defend 155 and 170. And there's no, like, he's given up 145.
So, yeah, speculation, rumor is that he's vacating the 145 belt.
Which he should. And, but I mean, everybody needs to slow down. At his current weight, he cannot fight 170. These people are going to get him killed. He's going to get destroyed by Robbie Lawler.
So let's talk about this. I sent you 2 different pictures, 3 actually different pictures. One, Ben Henderson versus Brendan Thatch, where Bendo looked half the size of Brendan Thatch. Brendan Thatch is a big 170. I think he's like 6'3", so he's taller than I am. Basically, me and Donald Cerrone are about the same size, other than him being in super good shape. He just went up, he was fighting at 155, went back up to 170. And then the other picture that I sent you was Conor McGregor next to Gunnar Nelson. Gunnar Nelson's a small 170.
Yes.
But they looked about the same size. And then GSP and Conor McGregor hanging out on the street or running into each other, and it did look old. This looked like before
I sent
Conor
you the
McGregor.
Gunner one, and I actually think they don't look the same size.
I think they do.
I don't. They look kind of the same size. It's not like drastic, but again, Gunner's small. What has he done in the division? He hasn't beat.
The only loss he's got is
Damian Maia. But I mean, like, do you think he's going to win that division?
I don't think yet. I think give him.
Do you think he's going to win the division?
2 to 3 years, yeah. I think he could.
He could, but he's not going to.
I mean, so what happens then when Conor McGregor moves up and they potentially have to fight each other, which they won't?
They won't. No, that's not going to happen. He's not.
So obviously there's not enough faith in Gunnar Nelson to win that division if they're talking about Conor McGregor immediately jumping up to 170 to fight.
That it's just not going to happen. I'm kind of leaning towards him beating RDA at this point.
I think he beats RDA.
And it was actually the size thing that I saw. I was like, he's going to be so small in that division. And then I saw him. I was like, oh my gosh, he's bigger. He is bigger than him. But the thing that I worry about is people like wanting him to go up to 170 and let's see it. I don't want to see that.
I think someone eventually wants him to lose. And if he beats
He'll
this
do it
one,
at 170.
They want to push him to 170 so he finally loses. And what do you think about the hype, the Conor McGregor hype? Obviously, this is a major discussion.
I appreciate somebody trying to do something that hasn't been done before and forcing a company's hand. I think that's a lot more interesting. Like just being like, no, I'm going to fight for 2 belts and I'm going to win both of them and I will defend both twice a year. And like he forces the UFC's hand in the way because UFC has so much control over their fighters. And now a fighter has all the control in the world. Where's my belt? Who's in the marketing department not putting my belt on the damn poster? Where's my belt? And the next low key UFC next time front and center has his belt on there up against RDA. Like I appreciate that.
Well, and how much of it do you think is an act, and how much of it do you think is really him?
It's not Chael Sonnen act. Like
psychologically, I think he thinks he's the best, and I think you have to as an athlete. You have to be arrogant, and I think partly a narcissist to be a high-level professional championship athlete.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think that he hypes fights as much as he needs to make money, but it's nothing out of the realm of what he believes. Like, obviously, like the other talkers, I think that they're trying to convince themselves almost, like Bisping and Chael, like obviously was just an act. Like, I have my belt now that I won. The guy can't wrap his leg around me and be declared the winner. But then you have, I think he's already convinced. He's trying to convince everybody else. There is a little bit of an act. You can see case in point, him coming out and saying that RDA is a bum version of Aldo and Aldo's better than him and that Aldo's loved by Brazil and he's going to win this fight for Brazil and Aldo. That's obviously an act because all he did was badmouth Aldo for almost a year straight, you know?
He is the bum version of Aldo, though. RDA, I think if RDA and Aldo were the same size, Aldo would beat him.
They kind of are.
The hardest part is RDA is got one of the best records and has beat some of the best people, but I still, as a fighter, don't think he's that great. I don't think he's.
See, that's how I feel about Conor. Like,
but Conor as a fighter is as great as he's made himself, and that's different. RDA's had to go in and put hard work and do it, and good for him for doing it, but that doesn't garner anything. When someone says, who have you beat her? RDA, you suck, and you're like, oh yeah, he who has he beat? Well, go look at his record and you'll actually see, but it's out of sight, out of mind. If you don't have a record of him beating Cerrone and Henderson and Pettis and all of these people that
murderers.
He beat the best of the 155 division. So he's got that. The reason that I ask this is I think Conor McGregor deep down is probably one of the best people that actually exists. He
exists?
Not exists. He's no Mother Teresa. He's no Michael Jordan. No, but I mean,
I like those comparisons that you did.
Yeah,
two awful
two
people,
completely different. He's no Gandhi sleeping with, young.
Have you read any of the terrible things that Mother Teresa did? It's pretty interesting.
There's
Anyways,
everybody though, Ben Franklin, Gandhi, like they all did really bizarre things.
You like sleep in beds with little boys,
but not touch them. Ben Franklin was French girls.
And just didn't care about his family.
No, he would disappear.
Hers are pretty interesting too, though.
Are they?
But what do you mean by best person?
In the MMA world, Cam Newton. Let's put him on the same level as Cam Newton. Cam Newton goes out and he celebrates, he dabs, he does his thing, but he's good. He gets his team to the Super Bowl. He's going to little kids' birthday parties to go visit them. Conor McGregor is rolling with 9 and 10-year-olds in the gym. We've been sent pictures on Twitter. He's talking about how amazing.
Is he rolling with them?
He's taking pictures with them at least.
Okay.
So I'm guessing he's probably at least messing around.
Okay.
He's diehard loyal to his gym and all of the SBG guys that are there. Artem Lobov, who's not that good of a fighter, goes with him everywhere, and they're like two peas in a pod. It sounds like all of the people in his gym at SBG really love him. Everyone in Ireland seems to really love him. And I watch his girlfriend's face. As weird as this sounds, being married, you can tell a lot about a person based on the reactions of the people that are closest to them and their family members. So if you watch his girlfriend's reaction anytime that they show him on camera, so when he walks from his car, from his car to the arena, when he's at press events and she's there, she steps away and lets him do his thing. She doesn't roll her eyes. She does giggle sometimes at what he does, but there's no like, okay, come on, Conor, like, calm it down. We get it. Which means when it's just him and her, he's got to be a down-to-earth good dude. And then, of course, there's the things that he said. She supported him for the last 8 years when they were on government assistance, making $185 a paycheck, living in a little teeny tiny place outside of Dublin. And he owes a lot of who he is to who she is. And so he expresses that kind of stuff behind the scenes. When you watch him on The Ultimate Fighter, and he didn't want to get close to those fighters because he knew he would get attached. He would get emotionally involved in their winning and losing. And he came in as a tough guy at first and then really became a really good coach. Mm-hmm. Him as a person and him as the actor, I think are a lot different. Mm-hmm. And that's why I like him.
But I mean, I don't think it's an act in the sense that if those same guys at SBG were on the other side, he's not saying the same things to him. Because I think
if they were to leave SBG, he'd probably throw him under the bus.
Well, not throw him under the bus in the same sense. Like I wouldn't call it throwing under the bus. I think he would be telling them how much better he is than them.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I think he really believes that. Whether it's true or not, I am still not convinced. I think that it's.
So
I don't. Apart from Jose Aldo, I don't really love any of his wins.
So we've got about 10 minutes left before we hit our hour mark. Let's get into the UFC card.
Okay.
So let's start with Chris Camozzi and Joe Riggs. Camozzi's the one that was on
I actually
Ultimate
like the
Fighter that
lower
got
part of this card a lot.
Yeah.
I like Joe Riggs, man. I saw him in that Bellator show that he did. He's a head case, just like the
Chris Lieben level head case.
But he's really like he's got good striking skill. Like he's not a terrible fighter. The only problem is he's seen wars. Like I was like, geez, man, this is like a Randy Couture aged guy, and he was like 31 at the time.
But he is. He used to fight with Randy Couture and Sean Shirk.
But he's not that old.
No, he's not.
He's young.
He looks like he's been put through a meat grinder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he's Chris Camozzi's been around for a while. Wins and losses always kind of lower. I think they're feeding him to Joe Riggs. Joe Riggs has what it takes and always has had what it takes, but it is what it is. Dennis Bermudez versus Tatsuya Kawajiri.
I love Dennis Bermudez, man. I mean, even I think that he had a good couple wins. He's at 135 now, right?
145.
He's up to 140 because I think he was fighting 135. Was he not?
I think he dropped from 155 to 145, and I think he's been there for a while.
I mean, after the Diego Brandao fight, I thought that from the Ultimate Fighter, I thought that when he broke his arm or dislocated it, but I thought Diego Brandao was going to be the guy that was up and coming, and his last fight was, I think, actually against Conor, wasn't it? We haven't seen him since.
I think we've seen him one time since.
But then Dennis Bermudez, opposed to that, went on this long run and looked really good, and then kind of fell off again.
I think he's only lost to one.
Really?
Yeah.
Against two. Do you know?
You're gonna have to check. It's gonna take too long to pull it up on here. But I've got Dennis Bermudez. I've never really been impressed with the Asian fighters. I would love to see them start doing well. But other than the Korean Zombie, who's decent.
When's he gonna be back?
And then Don Young Kim, who I really like, but who has all of the signs of steroid use.
When's the Korean Zombie gonna be back?
He hasn't tweeted for 2 months.
I like him.
So maybe he's not coming back. This is one I'm really excited for. John Lineker versus Cody Garbrandt.
Who do you got on that one?
Garbrandt's undefeated, but he's only 7-0 coming out of Alpha Male. I like him. He's one of those people that I wish that the UFC would get behind a little bit more, like Sage Northcutt, except he's got tattoos all over his body and up his neck and just doesn't look like the type of person the UFC would try and sell. If John Lineker can make weight, that's the one that can't make weight for the life of him. If John Lineker can make weight at 135, I've got John Lineker. John Lineker should fight at 145, but it is what it is. I would like to see Cody win. He's a big Team Alpha Male supporter. 7-0.
Not a snake.
Not a snake. And I like John Lineker other than the fact that he can't make weight. I would do John Lineker by knockout in the second, though.
Okay.
That's what I've got. Derek Brunson versus Roan Carneiro. Derek Brunson, I've seen fight several times. He's 14-3. Rowan is 20-9, and I don't even know where he's getting all those fights from. Derek Brunson is a perennial contender, kind of like OSP. When he's put in fights for people that are obviously better than him, he loses. And anytime he's put in a fight with his level or lower, he wins. But he doesn't seem to be able to break that barrier of like top 10, top
Finishes
level.
a lot.
Yeah. He's an exciting fighter to watch, and I think that's probably why they set this up. Every time I see his name on a card, I'm like, all right, cool, yeah. He's going to come out and he's going to actually fight. Kind of like Sean Spencer or there's another dude. What is his name? Derek Brunson Green? No. Anyway, that's just like him, where if you see their name on the card, you know that they're going to come out and actually put on a show. So it's
which Cerrone is on that kind of pedestal too. Like the win, lose, draw, tie, however it happens, he's going to put on a show. I don't remember ever having a boring Donald Cerrone fight, or really Frankie Edgar for that matter. Like they just go out there and you're not. Which fight have you not liked of Frankie Edgar?
Tottenham won.
Oh, good.
2-1. That's not good. Thanks, ESPN app. Sorry, no, he has always put it. That was what my face was. I like Donald Cerrone. I like him. He seems like he'd be a really good guy in real life to hang out with. Just like hang out and shoot beer cans off of a log with. Go flip a Jeep.
Did you see? Yeah, like and I think that's what these two fights have. I think they're going to be fun to watch. I think the free card is going to be fun to watch. How do you feel about the Cowboy versus Cowboy?
I like Alex Oliveira. I wish this fight wasn't happening as soon as it was. I would like Oliveira to get some more fights under his belt. I mean, he's 13-2-1. I believe the only losses that he has are to higher class opponents than himself. I think he does have a career in the UFC and a good career in the UFC, but I think he's taking this fight too quickly. A lot of people say the weight and the change of how quickly Donald Cerrone is coming back might cause him some issues. However, both of these guys usually fight at 155. They're both going up to 170.
I'm going to be interested to see us talking about our weight cuts and things like that. I'm going to be interested to see how this affects it, because I think we might actually see a better fight for it.
Donald Cerrone is the bigger guy. Even if they were fighting at 155, he would be a reasonably bigger guy. So now that they're both jumping up to 170, I found out that they're fighting at 170 because the Tim Means Donald Cerrone fight was originally at 170.
170, yeah.
So
there just wasn't much more. There wasn't many more places for Cerrone to go with Conor McGregor coming up, and that division, as always stated, just being murderer's row. Like, and I think he saw that, so he's going to get the money fight.
I think Cerrone wins. I think McGregor wins, and I think Cerrone and McGregor talk themselves into a fight. And I think it is a full-on brawl. Or Nick Diaz, but Nick Diaz is still 155. Nick Diaz is 155.
That's the fights that everybody wants to see in that division.
Everyone
because
wants
they're talkers. Like, they're just going to sit there and...
Except there's a difference. Conor McGregor is as sharp as they come and as cunning as a fox. And the Diaz brothers are the kind of dudes that are like, too much talking, I'm going to throw a fist.
I know. I was so excited.
I didn't know how many fights the Diaz brothers had been in inside the octagon. They got in a fight when he lost to KJ Noons. They got in a fight in the octagon with KJ Noons like dad. when he beat Mayhem Miller when Mayhem Miller beat Jake Shields or
he
lost.
Had it coming.
Yeah. Well, the Diaz brothers get in and then they fight.
He had it coming.
And then he fought freaking Khabib and his gym outside of an octagon at an event too. Like, those dudes are known for picking street fights.
Well, I wouldn't say they're necessarily known for picking them. I don't think they necessarily pick them.
They
could, but I'm just saying that they poke the bear, and this bear does not. This bear comes like back out. Like, if you want to like get in my head, I'll let you. But like, we're gonna be scrapping right now. So I mean, it's their fault for not having cool heads, but at the same time, like, I think other people know what they're doing. The dad one, I don't think he's trying to get in a fight with the Diaz's.
He was being the dad was the one that lost his cool.
Was he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
It is what, but I mean, it's someone coming at your son. Like, I don't think I would be one of those dads that would be in the ring with their son. I would be like, hey, you know what? If you win the championship, we'll come down and whatever. But that's for your coaches. That's for your teammates.
So you don't think Conor should bring in his family?
No, it's different. He won the belt and he brought in his family.
Gotcha.
But if you're just like on a local circuit, you bring in your teammates and you bring in your coaches, because your brother or your dad. I mean, brothers I understand, but your dad isn't there training with you every single day.
A lot of them are. A lot of them from the beginning. That's their trainer. That's their coach.
Little Tykes.
Well, I mean, yes. Or like Warrior though, like those dads. Like, if you think Coach Hansen, like, he never had any sons, but who would have coached his son up, or the Moats, they started off wrestling with their dad. So I mean, to a certain extent, but I get what you're saying.
I think they're doing it because their dad's never been a part of that and they want them, like, they're trying to give back. But
I just know wrestlers most of the time their dads are the ones that get them into it, train them.
My dad, if that happened to me, my dad would lose his shit.
And fight somebody?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I don't think Sid would be able to keep his cool if he saw someone coming at one of his children. Even if they were fighting, I think he would. His fight or flight is just fight.
Like, there's no other.
We're talking politics. He's going to fight. We're talking about what we want for dinner.
You get white bread instead of wheat.
Yeah. What the hell is this? Anyway, just joking. He's a great guy.
Sid's great.
Yeah. All joking aside.
Wrapping up everything, ending on, since we're talking about weight cuts on this, your side of it on weight cuts, just for some finality, what would you want to see? Would you want to see more fights like this where they're fighting at their natural weight and they're only cutting a few pounds?
I'd want to see more California stuff where they just say, you know what, there's only allowed a certain amount of actual weight cut.
How do you regulate that though?
Well, don't let them fight in Brazil. Don't let them fight, because Brazil has almost no rules. If you notice, most people that seem like
that's less going to happen than like, if you want to talk about revenue and things like that in marketing, you're never going to not fight in Brazil.
And well, I understand. That's not what I'm saying. That was obviously a
I know
joke.
in jest, but
Yes.
I'm just saying, like,
I think that how you do it is the UFC comes out and they say, this is how it's going to work. If you miss weight at a lower weight, you can never fight at that weight class again. If you
regardless of situation.
Regardless of situation. If
So
you
you're
miss that
sick.
weight, yep.
Okay. Go ahead.
Because Fight Purse obviously hasn't done anything. Yeah, so I think, real quick, obviously, this is off the cuff. I haven't actually thought about this, but I would say if you miss weight at a certain lower weight, you cannot fight at that weight any longer. Whether you're sick, whether you couldn't train, whether you were in jail, and whatever it is, you can't fight at that weight. I think you do weigh-ins the day before, you ban IVs, and no, that's it. You miss a weight, and then you ban IVs.
So I have a couple
IVs prevent people from dropping 20 pounds.
I have a couple different scenarios.
Okay.
One, right off the bat, you pay the fighters more. That needs to start happening.
Yeah.
Reason being, this isn't just like auxiliary, like this just needs to happen. Yeah. And this is all you weigh in day of. You pay the fighters more. If they don't make weight, you cut their pay more. So they have more incentive to be out there and fighting, but then if they have more incentive to make weight. And so then they're fighting at a healthy weight class. And
money's the best incentive, so that's solid.
Yeah, and so I mean, you're paying them more, but then I think that it should be more like 50%. So like instead of because it's 20% that you forfeit, right? So I would say maybe 20% still goes to the other fighter, and then 30%. I don't know what you do with it. Like I don't.
The charity.
That's never gonna happen.
Not from the UFC, no.
No. Maybe it goes to all of the other fighter if they end up wanting to take the fight. Still, I don't know.
Give it bonus of the night.
What's that?
The missed weight cut bonus of the night that is then presented to somebody else.
That they actually have to pay the the bonuses.
Their bonus goes out to somebody else.
And so I think that's one way to do it. You make it day of, and then incentivize more both ways. That way it's like, oh yeah, I got to make the fight. So I'm making instead of 20-20, I'm making 40-40. Mm-hmm. And then if not, I think it still needs to be lower than what you get. So if you're making 20-20 and you get 20%, that would be 18,000 that you would make off just fighting. I would say it maybe needs to be like 65. Yeah. That's what it is. Though. You gotta work these things out, Justin.
This is UFC, not math.
Math's everywhere. And then the other scenario.
Math's everywhere.
The other scenario is if it is the day before, IVs are still allowed. Why?
If it's the day before, I just don't like IVs. Anyway, continue.
I mean,
don't look at me and my face. Just continue with your.
Did you hear what Dominic Cruz said about the weight cuts and everything? Mm-mm. He just thinks it's USADA trying to get more money because the more testing that they have to do and everything is this is his exact quote. He said, "I have no problem taking any of their drug tests, doing any of that stuff. It actually starts up here. To me, USADA is stepping in there because it's about money. The more rules that they make, the more rules there are to be broken. The more money they have to make because the rules are broken by the fighters. I have no problem taking any of their drug tests, doing any of that stuff, just taking away the one thing that hydrates us so we can put on a good show. I think they're peeking their nose in places that they don't really know a whole lot about."
That's because he can't beat Demetrius Johnson. Oh, wait.
At what weight?
Sorry,
because he already did.
Johnson would have to go up. I said that incorrectly. I'm going to cut that out.
Okay.
This whole thing is just gone. It's going to be cut out.
Just like weight.
Just like weight. So I think that's money's a huge incentive. Taking people's money if they don't make weight, I think, is a huge incentive. I don't think USADA is that big of an issue. I'm not talking math everywhere.
Yeah, I thought you were getting into it. I was with preemptive snore.
No, that was it. I'm not getting into math. But that's it. So we both agree that weight cuts need to be changed. We both agree that it definitely could be curbed with money.
I just don't see why there hasn't been more done for it. I think taking the healthy way of hydrating is crazy. I think that it has to be restructured because they've had so many fights that haven't happened because of it. Like that's crazy. And if you lose a fighter,
I think it's only been while there's a couple people that passed out, but the Johnny Hendricks is the only fight that I believe that just was like straight canceled.
I think there's more. I can't just think off the top of my head.
Undercard though, I can't think of any main card ones.
That's fair. But that's even worse though because they're making even less money. But I mean, there's there's so much that can go wrong with those weight cuts. I think that and maybe they've already toyed with this and they already know the ins and outs and we're dumb. But I mean, I think that there's some pretty simple solutions to kind of fix these problems and protect fighters.
But where USADA is doing whatever they can to make themselves more money, doctors are also known to do the exact same thing. Experts on both sides saying that both are fine so they can get paid for their research or whatever it is. Like there's a lot of gray on both sides.
In what sense? Like as far as making concussions worse and things like that?
No. I mean, I don't mean necessarily weight cuts. I mean nutritionists or doctors being like, yeah, we have this thing. Come in here and we'll tell you exactly what you want to hear. Just like there was a specific detail that we were actually watching. Oh, like what's his face?
Dolce.
No, Dolce's a nutritionist. We're not talking actual doctors. On the Smashing Machine, he goes into his doctors, and later on it comes out that the doctors are giving him pills because the doctors are also addicted to pills. And so they're actually they're writing him prescriptions as long as they get X amount from his actual bottle.
That's different though.
But we're also talking doctors that are experts that are trying to get people to pay their research, such as caffeine. Caffeine's really good for you. And then another research comes out that says caffeine's really bad for you. You get one research that says steroids are really great for you. And then you get another research that says steroids are really bad for you. In the concussion movie with Will Smith, they actually have a doctor that's like a pediatrician. That's who they're going to for all of their concussion research. And the guy that comes out is like, why are they using this type of doctor for this research and taking his word as gospel? Because they're paying him a ton of money to do that.
It has to be reputable. It has to be put in journals. I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward. I know that there's research on both sides, but I mean, it clearly can't be healthy to cut weight.
No.
And I mean, they've linked a lot of concussions being exacerbated, and then also being knocked out easier.
My cousin didn't start getting knocked out until he started dropping a lot of weight.
I mean, it makes sense.
And he used to be able to stand in front of people and just take punch after punch.
I've seen him like take a freaking crowbar to the chin, you know? Mm-hmm. But like collectively you can't compete at such a high level if everybody's cutting weight and you don't, you're going to be at a disadvantage. Mm-hmm. But then also at the same time, I think putting yourself at risk. So I think that's why it more has to be a systematic, because you as a fighter, you can pull a Frankie Edgar and decide that you're going to fight at your weight. There's a percentage of people that I think could actually do that, and Frankie's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. Frankie, Hendo was small for 170.
Apart from heavyweights,
I think Conor McGregor, heavyweights, they need a mid-range 220, 235-ish.
I disagree. I mean, especially
we'll have to save that with how shallow the heavyweight division is.
Not even that. I mean, just like what other big fighters do you want to see that like go against?
Good point.
But I mean, I think that weight class, that's the most compelling. We won't get into it a ton. That's the most compelling thing about that weight class to me. I always don't just want to talk shit on it. The different disciplines that you get the really heavy guys, but then you also get to see these guys that are 30 pounds less than them at weigh-ins that go in and beat them, or vice versa. I mean, I like that dynamic of it.
Technique, and that's why Conor McGregor could compete at 170. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you make it this far into the program, please click subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at
Poor Sportcast.
At One Speed MMA.
That was right when I said that. I was like, "Damn it, that's not right." But hey, you can also
follow
that.
Karson's other sports podcast.
We're great.
Follow us at One Speed MMA. Flying Smitty at _W_24. All of that good stuff. Subscribe on YouTube as well. This should be our first video going out. Thank you guys so much.
Love you. Bye.
Love you guys for listening.
Bye.